As I say, crooked Hillary, crooked Hillary. She's as crooked as they come.
Donald Trump piling on after the State Department IG report found Hillary Clinton violated the rules in using a private email server.
Nothing has changed. It's the same story. It's not an issue that is going to affect either the campaign or my presidency.
Hillary Clinton is brushing off a scathing report by the State Department Inspector General saying she violated agency rules by using a private email server.
That report finding that no approval was sought or given for that personal server at her home, and that State Department staff who complained about it were told, quote, never to speak about it again. Clinton and top aides stonewalled and refused to be interviewed by the State Department Inspector General, an Obama appointee, by the way. And then in 2011, the Clinton server was attacked by hackers. Clinton and staff failed to report those attacks in violation of government policy. Also, in 2011, Clinton was warned of blackmail risks from hackers of private emails. And in 2013, she failed to save or surrender her emails. All that, according to the report. Well, Clinton violated government policies established in accord with the Federal Records Act.
The State Department said today that Mrs. Clinton and her team were also not upfront about the extent of her personal email use.
The people who may have had a broader knowledge or a fuller appreciation of to the extent at which Secretary Clinton was using her personal email are no longer here at the department.
And Toner said that reporters would have to ask Clinton and her most senior aides why they refused these interviews with government investigators, because a deep dive on the regulations, an act called the Inspector General Act of 1978, shows that Clinton and her team were required to cooperate and no one is exempt.
Clinton's campaign spokesman is attempting to do damage control, but it's not working out too well. Now watch Brian Fallon get grilled by Bret Baier on Special Report last night.
What the section of that report said today was that there was no evidence that this personal server of hers was ever breached successfully.
Well,
there were
hold on about that.
There were attempted intrusions, but none of them were successful, and
well,
that
you don't
matches
know that.
all the.
How do you know that?
Well, there has been reporting out of the ongoing Justice Department review that they've looked at the logs, the security logs for that server, and found no evidence of that.
So this hacker Guccifer, you don't buy that he got into the server?
Actually, we don't.
Eric, you think that this is a big problem for them, that he went on there, he's on Special Report, he's saying, oh, no, this isn't an issue, there's no evidence of this. And Guccifer, in the meantime, is with Catherine Herridge, was there getting the information, the guy's saying how easy it was for all the international hackers to be able to get into her email.
Yeah, he's saying I can get in there anytime, it was easy, I didn't think there was anything that interesting, so he didn't do it too often. The problem, may or may not, yes, it's a problem that she lied about the servers. It's a problem that she didn't ask for permission. It's a problem she didn't use the State Department technology people to make sure the server was secure. Her biggest problem politically is that she denied all these things. That she said it wasn't happening, and we find out now in hindsight that it was.
They're in really deep. Hillary Clinton has maintained for over a year that she did nothing wrong. The story has evolved. What happened yesterday was that the Inspector General, which is the independent auditor of the State Department, came out with a report that was very scathing and said she did not follow the rules. She was not in compliance with State Department policy. Here's what you need to remember about that. Policies at the State Department are made in order to comply with the law. If you don't comply with the policy, you are therefore breaking the law.
What's been exceedingly clear is that Hillary Clinton intentionally set up the private server and the private email account to circumvent Congress and circumvent future FOIA requests. She also lied to Congress and lied to the courts as well.
Well, there's no evidence she lied to Congress under oath.
And the other thing that was a surprise to me in that report was that the Inspector General said there was no cooperation from Hillary Clinton or her senior aides. If you listen to Hillary Clinton's campaign over the past year, you would believe that they were fully cooperative, that they were being very helpful. That's not the case with the Inspector General, the department over which she was the leader.
Even people that don't necessarily want to knee-jerk to her guilt around this issue, they then become very curious as to, if not guilt, then why delete them?
Did you ever watch Cops? She's like a suspect on Cops that is clumsily trying to climb a fence or hide under one of those, or the overturned kiddie pool. She's crawling under it. Why?
It's called felony stupid.
So why is this growing? Well, like we talked about this on the show for 10 months, and there was a period where we always had people going, nobody cares, nobody cares, nobody cares.
Right.
Now, it's happening on the left and on the left side. And I think it's because they realize that she may get beaten like a bowl of eggs in November, and they're trying to figure out, we better get this thing out.
Sometimes I think you're right, Greg. I think people are now concerned on the left about saving themselves, and they're not really prepared to sacrifice the entire party for Hillary Clinton.
I made a mistake. It was not prohibited. It was not in any way disallowed. And as I've said, and as now has come out, my predecessors did the same thing.
But this report by the Inspector General found that no other Secretary of State had a personal server. Colin Powell used his personal account to email people outside the office, and he also worked with the State Department to secure his personal email account. Condoleezza Rice and Madeleine Albright did not use personal email for any of their government business. A longtime State Department official Louis Lukens gave sworn testimony. According to the newly released transcript, Lukens assumed Clinton was using personal email to stay in touch with friends and family. And Lukens said Clinton was using her non-government issued BlackBerry on the State Department's executive floor, which is considered a secure area, especially her office, which has safeguards to handle classified information.
Well, first of all, just using the BlackBerry for government business was against the rules, and Mrs. Clinton was warned there were security issues with it, and she acknowledged those warnings. And secondly, using a BlackBerry in or near a secure facility like the executive suite of the Secretary of State could compromise secret information in that system.
Asked about this episode today, the State Department spokesman Mark Toner said the use of personal devices like a BlackBerry is not permitted on the executive floor, and there was no waiver granted to Mrs. Clinton and her team. So this does appear another episode where the security rules were discarded.
The IG report seems to contradict four main statements and arguments of Clinton. Number one, everything I did was permitted. IG says that's untrue. I did it for convenience. Again, untrue. I'm more than ready to talk to anybody anytime. Untrue. She refused to talk to the IG. And finally, the email account was approved by the State Department. IG says that's untrue. If she'd sought permission, it would have been denied. And yet, after this report, Chris, she seems to be doubling down, insisting that, you know, what she did was permitted, notwithstanding what the Inspector General says. What do you make of it?
Well, what other alternative does she have?
Everything I did was permitted. There was no law. There was no regulation. There was nothing that did not give me the full authority to decide how I was going to communicate.
You know what the most important thing, and the AP is reporting this, is that she had her private email server connected to an internet printer. It's like having a Post-it of your password on your computer screen. It's like having well, you would. It's like having a wall safe with a screen door.
Clearly, there's enough from the IG report, from the leaked emails. She is in trouble here. She's going to be indicted.
The Inspector General's report cited 3 emails that directly relate to the Clinton server's setup and management, but they were not among the more than 55,000 pages of emails that were released to the public. The State Department spokesman said today the omission was not a big deal. But the missing emails seem to provide insight into why Clinton wanted the private server and what appears to be an effort to control her government records. In November 2010, it was suggested Mrs. Clinton get a State Department.gov account because her emails were going to spam and not reaching State Department staffers. But a government account would be searchable under the Freedom of Information Act. Clinton apparently wanted to avoid that scenario and told aide Huma Abedin that she was concerned her personal communications would be accessible.
She paid Brian Pagliano, her former aide, $5,000.
Who has immunity to talk now to the
FBI. To migrate 2 accounts, 2 government accounts to her email server. A public government account to which you or I or anybody watching us now could have emailed her, and the secret account, which carried confidential, secret, and top secret materials. That migration of the secret account is most likely the act of espionage for which the FBI is investigating her. Simply stated, the failure to safeguard national security secrets that have been entrusted to you.
She sold favors. I mean, the email is the what. The why is the crime. It's the reason she wanted to have everything private, because she was selling favors from the State Department. I mean, you look at what they did.
Now, that's
you know,
kind
taking
of a,
money.
That is a very bold
Yeah, let me tell you right there.
Talking
taking
about
money into their
Clinton
private bank
Foundation.
account, by having Bill Clinton give speeches for things from countries and entities who had business before the State Department that they then decided in favor against American interests.
With your
in
precise
favor-
business acumen.
Yeah,
For you to make a statement
I
as
can tell you
reckless
exact-
as that.
It's not reckless. I can tell you the exact case. What about Etihad Airways? I mean, they're the ones, they wanted people to clear customs.
Is there an
in Abu
allegation in
Dhabi.
any court that she sold
There
the
will be.
secrets?
That's
that
what,
there was a quid
It's
pro
not
quo?
a secret. It was a favor. They gave $500,000 into her personal
You're almost
bank
out of
account.
time. Melissa is factually correct. All those things did happen. Bill Clinton did make speeches. He was paid for
$500,000
speeches. These were arranged through some of the State Department emails. And later on, these deals did come to fruition.
This thing is about to come to an end. As soon as the New Jersey and California primaries are over on Tuesday, she will have her interview. She says she's looking forward to it. She can't possibly be looking forward to it. They know a lot more about this case, the people interrogating her, than she does.
How much pressure is there on the Attorney General Loretta Lynch right now?
There will soon be a great deal of pressure from some of the most important professionals in the FBI to allow prosecutors to present this evidence to a grand jury and let the grand jury decide whether or not to indict
Is this where you thought we'd be right now?
No, I didn't think we'd be here now. I thought that somehow this would go away. But the more bad news that comes out about Hillary, the more serious this is. She hasn't had any good news on the email front in the past 8 months. It's a continuing cascade of bad legal news for her. Her legal situation presently is grave or worse than grave.
I think the most damaging thing is really not any new revelation. It's really the source of the information. Remember, this comes from the State Department. That is the department that Hillary Clinton herself ran for 4 years. This comes from the Inspector General of the State Department, who was appointed by Barack Obama, and this investigation was set underway by her Democratic successor, John Kerry. So there's no effort here. You can't say this came from Trey Gowdy and the House Benghazi Committee or Chuck Grassley and the Judiciary Committee. This came from the Democratic administration, the department she ran, and an Obama appointee in the IG and an Obama appointee in the Secretary of State.